Hey friends, welcome back. Today's guest is someone who's been part of my journey for a long time, Paula Agudelo, the fantastic designer behind Sacred Interiors. Paula has been a client of ours since 2021, and over time, she's also become a friend. She's thoughtful, intuitive, and wildly creative, and I can't wait for you to meet her. In this episode, we're diving into her journey, what it means to create sacred spaces, the story behind her energetic design course that she's already launched a few times. We'll also ask her for some tips on how to create a sacred home. And lastly, I will ask her to share a little bit more about her experience of delegating to a remote team since she's been doing it for like the past 4 years. And maybe she's gonna have a few useful tricks and tips for you if you're thinking about delegating. Okay, let's go meet Paula.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I wrote a whole book about my journey with sacred design. So I'll keep it short, but feel free to read the book.
I will.
Um, say I started with sacred design through death and birth. And that's like the summary of how I started. And what I mean by that is when my dad died, I was very little. I was like 9 years old. And I was very lonely. We moved in with my grandparents, and the way I spent my time was crafting and setting up my room in different ways. I shared a room with my sister, and this is how I spent my like hours and hours and hours of my time. And what I now know after so many years of inner work and personal development and interior design is that became the way I coped with my grief, right? I didn't come from a family where we were talking about it. There wasn't any sense of emotional intelligence or vulnerability or anything like that. And so I now know that for many years, working with art and colors and fabrics and making things was how I was coping with my grief. But it wasn't until I was an adult and I gave birth to my youngest daughter at home. And when I did that, I had already been working in high-end luxury interior design in my area, but doing this birth and planning for this birth after I had just built my dream home was just so life-changing. Like I remember literally in the moment of giving birth thinking, more women need to design their homes into a sacred space because the experience I had of literally bringing a life into the world and using my space as a reminder of I can do this, like that was the most empowering thing I ever did. And so it was after that that I decided I don't want to do design the way I was taught. I want to do it in such a different way.
I mean, you've talked a lot about the home birth on your Instagram,
Yeah.
and it was such a fascinating, like, it must have changed everything for you. I can't imagine what this experience was like.
Yeah. Everything. I mean, what I found really interesting when I put my like business owner hat back on right after a while, um, was how it didn't just like affect me as the mom giving birth. And obviously, I'm not just helping moms who are giving birth, like, that's not it. But it was the ripple effect of the environment that I created, paying attention to the details I created in terms of where's the little hangout area where my oldest daughter gets to hang out while I'm in my tub giving birth, right?
Mhm.
Like I planned every detail, right? My photographer, my doula, there's a birthing team. Every single person felt like they were having an experience during my birth. It wasn't just me. And we still talk about it. Like it's been almost 13 years and we still talk about it. So it was amazing.
What does your daughter think about all this?
Which one? The youngest, the
The
one that was
youngest?
born
Yeah.
at home? She's very proud to say that she's a home birth baby. I don't know that she fully understands, what this is. My oldest daughter, I actually just gave her my book to read as her 15th birthday came up. And that was a big rite of passage for sure, because there's a lot in that book. And I talk about her birth too. I had a hospital birth with her. And I remember during the moment of giving birth to her thinking, I am doing this at home next time because being in a hospital sucks. Like, I want my dim lights and I want my aromatherapy and I want my nice sheets. I don't want these polyester gown on me. Like, I just knew that the next time I wanted to have a home birth. And yeah, that's a big part of how Sacred Tears was born.
Okay, so how long after was it born, your company, the way that it is now?
How long after was it? I think it was conceptually born probably 6 months after. Like, I was very fast with the energy of I'm onto something and I need this to come to life. But I didn't fully dive all the way into really being a business owner and just really getting more into the strategy part. That was the creativity side of things, which is always so much more fun for me. But I didn't probably go all in until I actually got divorced. And I think that was also an initiation for Sacred Interiors.
Rebirth.
In It was a rebirth, huge rebirth, personally, obviously, but for the business, because now it wasn't like, oh, I can just do this as a side gig. And if I have clients, great. And if I don't, fine. No, it was like my livelihood now depended on it. I was now a mom providing for 2 kids on my own. And so I just, yeah, this is where I put in like my CEO kind of hat, and then the branding, the messaging, the avatar, all of that part of the business really came together in a more structured way.
And so, what did you want to create for people when you decided it's going to be Sacred Interiors, and with your experience at home, what were you envisioning that you were going to create for people? What is a sacred space?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's really interesting to see how messaging, right, and branding and how that has evolved over time. Because at the beginning, I used to get a lot of people wondering if this was like a religious thing.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a yoga background, so a lot of people were thinking, is this just about meditation? Like, there was a lot of confusion around what that meant. And I was all about it because the intention I had was to help women create a space that really mirrored not just the story of where they were coming from or even where they were at in their life, because that doesn't always match. I wanted it to mirror like who they were becoming. I'm such a like self-development nerd. I've been in the space of like inner healing and somatics and yoga and spiritual practice, and the work of self-awareness is really where I thrive. Like, that is my zone of genius. And so what I wanted was to use the energy of what we see with our eyes, what we feel with our skin, with our touch, what we smell, like creating a sensorial experience. That's a sacred piece, but that is directly connected with what a woman wants to manifest in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where I gained a lot of clarity with the work that I was doing as I was working with more and more clients. Was this isn't just about the aesthetics of a sacred space, it's about the devotion that the women I work with have towards the life that they're creating.
That's fascinating. And I think you're right. Like, interior design is so much more than just a pretty space. It's a place where people are going to live. They need to feel good in it. They need to feel like it's where they get the energy to get through the day. And I also,
Yeah.
yeah, I always feel like my home is where I'm recharging. So it has to
Mm-hmm.
work with, and it's gonna look different for everybody, because what recharges someone is gonna be different to someone else. So I'm sure the work that you do with clients, and you can talk to us more about it, but it looks very different from one person to the other. But I don't know,
Very different.
there's some principles that you start with when you start working with a client.
Yeah, there's a lot that we work on. And I just want to add to that. that was also part of the evolution of sacred interiors, because for a while the word recharge was really big. But what I started to realize is that for most people, that's a very surface level practice, right? Like people might think you put on a blanket, you sit on a comfy couch, you turn on Netflix, and you're recharging, right? And sometimes that's the case, totally. But what I wanted was something so much bigger than that. What I wanted was for that woman who, even when she's going through like a very confusing time of her life, like when you have a baby, that shit's confusing, okay? Like you're like, what is this body of mine? Who am I? When you go through a divorce, that's also a challenging time. When you're starting a business or scaling a business, that's confusing too. Like there's so many initiations we have as powerful women. And so what I wanted was not just, hey, recharge so you can get the energy to do more. It's stay focused on your big vision. Stay focused on your long-term vision. I want your house to remind you why you're even recharging in the first place and why you're doing what you're doing. Like there's a bigger reason why. So that's where I get really excited. And then as far as principles, yeah, I always like to say that the sacred interior approach is a very step-by-step process. And it's what I teach a lot of my clients who buy my courses and do their own design, because that's also really big for me. Is I want to make it very approachable and also very affordable. A lot of my clients are stay-at-home moms. A lot of my clients are women who are just starting business, right? So I want it to be really approachable. I would say there's probably 4 to 5 really important things. One is always starting with the aspect of decluttering. And yes, that's getting rid of things that we no longer like or use or need on a physical level. But on an emotional and on a spiritual level, it's also releasing the limiting beliefs that we no longer need. It's releasing the emotional component of our story that we don't need to carry with us, and then bringing what we do want to keep. Like anytime I'm going through, let's say, an emotional decluttering of a relationship, there's things from that relationship we want to bring with us, but there's things we're done with and they need to just be gone, right? So I would say that's the first step. I think creating a clear vision is really important. And the way I do that through sacred design is creating a clear vision for each area of our life in terms of our career, our relationships, our health, our creativity. There's 9 different areas, and each area actually is mapped out in the home. And that's working with the ancient wisdom of feng shui. And also Vastu Shastra, which is the Indian architecture and ancient architecture. I would say a really important third aspect of sacred home is creating a designated sacred corner. And this could be an altar, this could be a chair where people have their practice every day, whether that's journaling, reading, tapping, meditating, just sitting down to think. I love to just sit down to think, right? Like to have space to just think. But having a designated space does something to your subconscious. Like if you think of like a temple, right? Like we love these, or I love, I guess, I don't know if you love, but I've seen you travel and I've seen like temples you visited. A lot of the wisdom of these temples comes from the energy it absorbs from people bowing their head at that altar over and over and over. And that's what charges it. I love creating that as a corner in people's homes. That's like their little temple where they bow their head every
I have a little.
day.
It's
Yeah.
I love it. It's for me there are things that soothe me in my home. Like I always need to have some kind of incense. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's about the smell, about as you said, like I do love temples. I travel a lot, whether it's in South America or Asia, and those places are it's the energy is different, the way that you feel
Yeah.
it feels different. And in my house, that's how I want to feel. I want to feel calm, I want to feel safe. um, I have many things in my altar that I don't even know how to use properly. Like I have crystals, I have tarot, I have candles, I have lots of different things, But I love having that little corner, that is about this. Like it's just my space when I want to do EFT tapping or meditation or just breathe. The breathing for me is has been life changing. I'm
Yeah.
an anxious person, so the breath work necessary. And I love the decluttering principle. I sometimes do that. Not, I haven't done it in a while because I was traveling, as you know. So I didn't have a home, I didn't have anything to declutter. But when I do once in a while, it's really nice to just go through the amount of stuff, we have. We keep
Hmm.
buying stuff, and actually traveling for so long made me realize that I don't need that much to live and feel happy. But when
Yes.
you accumulate so much stuff, I've done this a little bit more with like clothes, for example, not so much
Hmm.
about stuff in the house, but more, this doesn't, I've watched Marie Kondo, but, thinking about
Does bring me joy. Yeah.
things that bring you joy or things that remind you of a phase in your life where like you don't want to be there anymore. It didn't make you happy or you're just ready for the next step in your life. And so
Yeah.
for me, this is the decluttering is very important as well. So I think we've done three principles so far, right?
Yeah. Yep. Decluttering, we did the creating like an intention for a vision for all areas of life, designating a sacred corner. And I would say the fourth really important principle of sacred design is also working with the elements really intentional.
Okay.
So there's five elements, and I won't like bore you with all of them, but what I love about that piece is we get to create a very dynamic space depending on the season of life that we are going through, right? I think a big misconception with designing a space is that the space kind of becomes static after a while, and it's like, that's it, you designed it and it's done. It's never done. A home is never, ever done,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's always something new to do,
It
just like
changes with
life.
you.
It changes with you, right? And so I love working with the elements because it just becomes a supportive tool to know, what do I need right now. So let's say you're in a season of your business that you're scaling up. Working with the energy of wood is what we would bring into a space. So maybe it is incense, maybe it is a wooden piece of art, maybe it is I don't know, you got to get creative. But it's that connection of wood is about growth, wood is about expansion, right? Yeah. And that also like applies a lot personally for the thing that we need in our life. I love working with water, and water is really important anytime we're feeling like we're not intuitive enough or creative enough, like if we're stagnant in any way. How can I bring the element of water? And maybe that's a mirror, maybe that's wallpaper of a different color, maybe it's art of, I don't know, a landscape of the beach or something that resembles the energy of water. So now every time I walk by this picture or this mirror, this becomes a talisman. It becomes a reminder of, I'm connecting with my creativity, I'm connecting with my intuition, and so forth and so on. Fire, we've got wood. Earth is really important when we're wanting to feel grounded
Mm-hmm.
and safe, anchored in. Metal for focusing, like us ADD people, we need a lot of focus. So metal is a really big component in my office. You can see like the very white, crisp. There's no distractions in my workspace because I am coming in here to do the thing I'm here to do.
Doing all these little things in people's homes, and we don't know how it changes us unconsciously. I didn't know why, but I love water in general. I love wood. I like to walk on the beach to feel grounded, or even in, yeah, on the ground,
Yeah.
forest. Yeah, it's
I
fascinating.
think I think what I really love about that is that in my experience, your environment is always in conversation with you, right? There's energy in a space, and I think that's something we can't even question anymore. Like everybody knows when a space feels off. Like you
Yeah.
walk in and it doesn't feel good. Like that's like a very common experience. And key here is becoming aware of what that energy is speaking, right? Or what the energy is bringing to you. And the more mindful our presence, the more magnetic our spaces can become for us, the more we can help our environment work with us instead of against us. And so I think that's also a really big skill that I developed over the years of spending so much time on my own and finding ways to create space that felt good for me when internally I was freaking out, right? And that didn't just happen to me through grief. It happened many, many, many other times in my life as I went through a lot of other challenging experiences. And so now the attunement is a lot more towards joy and towards mindfulness and towards just having a more magnetic experience of life. And I think when I bring those sacred principles into, yes, a space, but also into my business, into my own practices, into my own rituals, I honestly feel like that's what's helped me create a business that's life focused and not business focused. And I wouldn't do it any other way. I really wouldn't.
And I love that you brought all your passions into your business because if we're gonna build a business, it should be enjoyable. And I
Yeah.
love that you don't need to choose between spiritual and design. And the fact that you're combining everything, you have a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge about the spiritual aspect. As you said, like I think you're a yoga teacher as well. Um, so there's a lot that you're bringing into your business, which I absolutely love. What, just out of curiosity, what is your safe corner? What is your little corner in your house?
That's a really good question. So I always talk about this with my kids because I'm like, this is such a first world problem, is that I have so many different corners. Um,
I was
we
expecting it.
talk about this all the time. Yeah, my entire house is a sacred corner. Like every corner is a sacred corner, and I use them for different purposes, right? So like I have my, we're going to have great sex kind of corner, and there's a specific ritual for that. I have my, we're going to connect as a family and make beautiful food, and there's a little corner in my kitchen, and there's an altar in my kitchen, and that is very intentionally used when we're having shared cooking time together. But I would say my office is probably my most me space. Like this is where I'm like, okay, I'm locking the door and you guys are out. Like this is me claiming my own space. And I spend a lot of time here, obviously, during the day working on calls, designing, whatever. But I love to come here at night and dim the lights. I have tons of candles. I've got so many different kinds of lights and colors, and all of my deities are here. My oracle cards are here. Like this is probably my favorite space, especially when I come here at night.
Okay, so on the next episode, Paula is gonna give us
Yeah.
she's gonna prepare
So good.
everything so that we can see what her sacred home is. That would be a good idea, actually.
That would be a very good idea. Yes, I agree.
Okay, so those principles are a great start for people who are looking to make a change in their home. And I guess we should mention, so you have clients, but you also have this program, and that I know you love teaching.
Yes.
So I think we can talk about both, but if you work with the client one on one, would you focus on this first, those five principles, and then what do you start with after that?
Yeah. Yes, I do focus on these five principles when I start working with my clients, and that becomes a big part of like our initial questionnaire, right? Is what personally are you experiencing? What are you going through? Is there an area of your life that you're wanting to focus more in? Um, I always say if everything's a priority, then nothing is a priority. So I usually have my clients choose one, maybe two areas of life that they really want to work on. Or if they come to me for a specific room, like maybe they're not talking about their career and their relationship or anything like that from the get-go, but they're talking about their bedroom, for example. I want to know what's happening in their relationship, what's happening in their romantic life, right? And so it's very personal. It's a very personal questionnaire. It's not like, what's your budget? Is there any art you want to keep? Yes, there's questions like that too, but the beginning of the questionnaire is quite deep. I laugh because a lot of my clients say, yes, this is like interior design work, but it's also like spiritual therapy when they work with me. So once we have that, then obviously we go into the nitty gritty of, their budget, their time frame, their style. And what I help both clients through one-on-one design, like I just mentioned, and then also I have a course. So that's, better for women who are going at their own pace. They maybe don't have the budget for a designer yet, and they just want to feel their way through the process. I guide them through each of the steps. And in addition to the principles I mentioned, they're going to learn how to create a layout. They're going to learn how to choose color. They're going to learn how to choose lighting, the right size, the right scale. All of those kind of universal interior design principles are there as well.
So your program is to teach them how to design their own home, or do you
Mm-hmm.
teach them how to become designers so they can work with other clients?
Yeah, so there's three paths to work with me. One-on-one design services. There's the course that women take to learn how to design their own homes. And then there's my Become a Sacred Interior Designer coaching program. So that's a bit more of an immersive experience where I work one-on-one with my clients. And that program is for aspiring interior designers or senior interior designers who want to do design work differently. Maybe they are just starting their business and they want to bring more of the spiritual and emotional component to the work that they do. Interestingly enough, I've been working a lot with realtors. They seem to be really interested in becoming interior designers. So that's been an interesting niche that keeps coming to me. So I need to explore a little bit further. Yeah.
You do. It's interesting. And so the Sacred Interior program, how long does it
Mm-hmm.
take for someone who wants to start in the program, and do they get a diploma at the end or something?
Yeah, they get a diploma. They get lifetime access to all of my trainings, and I upgrade them pretty much yearly, so they get the most recent versions. It's a 12-week program to start, and like I said, it's usually geared towards aspiring designers. So a lot of them have been dabbling in design, but they have no idea how to get started, how to implement any of the spiritual things, and how to create a business from the beginning, right? Because I think that's something that most designers, as you know, we just don't learn. They don't teach you that in
So
design school.
there's actually a part where you teach them what they need to start the business. This is amazing.
Yes, including delegating right off the bat, which I think is genius. There's three pillars to that program. The first pillar is walking your talk. So the first three modules are all about creating your own sacred home, because that, for me, that's so important. Like, you can't sell something that you don't experience yourself first. And so there's a lot of personal transformation that happens in that first pillar for that, for that aspiring designer. The second pillar is more the energetic piece of how to read a space, how to map out a space. This is also where we talk about layout and lighting and patterns and fabric and history of furniture and all of that. And then the third pillar is a conscious business. What are the foundations of a conscious business? And this is marketing, this is money management, delegation, all of that. Yeah.
That's amazing because
Yeah.
years I've spent in design school and they don't teach you any of that. This is
Nothing. I know.
It's crazy. You need to learn everything by yourself. So having a program like this that doesn't only teach you to become a designer and how to think as a sacred designer, but also gives you all the tools that you need to start signing clients. It's amazing.
I know, it really is amazing. I have so much fun with that
Mhm.
program, and I think it's really a big part of my dharma. It really is, because I cried so many tears creating this business. I really did. I invested a lot in myself from the get-go. Like, I was never afraid to invest in learning, but even so, I felt so lonely in it, especially with the spiritual kind of shift of things for my business, because no one understood what I was talking about for the longest time. And so it was a painful journey to get to where I am. It really has been. And so I love being able to help my students know what they're doing from the get-go. I've had students that on week 3 of the program, they've already paid back the investment of working with me, because I teach them how to do energy clearings and work with clients right away. I'm like, on week 3, I want you getting clients. Like, find out what that feels like. And they love it. So it's so much fun.
And
Yeah.
the other one is called Energetic Design Course. Is it correct?
Mhm.
And so
Yes,
this
that's the
one,
self-paced.
okay, so self-paced. And do you do any one-on-one with them, or it's just a course? They have all the videos, they have all the materials, and then they just go by themselves.
They go by themselves. It used to be that I had it as a coaching program, but my word for 2024 was simplicity. So I retired that and kind of brought the many offers I had into just these 3 pieces.
Yeah.
So the course is self-paced. As an upgrade, they can always work one-on-one with me to implement what they're learning. And there's maybe bigger design work they need. There's renovations, there's construction drawings, there's that other part that they really can't do on their own. So that's their like upgrade to working with me one-on-one. But the course gives them everything, including meditations, tapping, somatics, like a lot of the ceremonial wellness aspect of things, and guides and resources and shopping links and templates, and they just have access to doing it all on their own.
I love that because you have a clear niche. I mean, you know what you're offering, and but you're helping people where they're at. Not everybody's going to be able to work with you one on one. So you're giving them something where they can do it using your method, but it's
Mhm.
more budget friendly, obviously. And then I love that you're also teaching people how to create sacred spaces. I don't think I've seen anyone else do the type of design that you do. Um, so it's nice that you're spreading everything that you've learned for all these years, you know? And
Yeah.
talking about the delegating, since you've been a client for so long, I think I would like to touch on the delegating side and how hard or easy it was to start delegating, especially to a remote team, because all of us are remote. We're not in your office. A lot of
Yeah.
designers still struggle to delegate to someone, whether they're remote or in-house, but it's also sending information. They don't know where to start. They find it challenging, overwhelming. They think that it's not going to work, that they're losing time. And so I would like to know more about your experience of delegating. I have to say, Paula has no mindset blocks around delegating. I think you actually love delegating. And the
Yeah.
team always says how amazing you are at sending briefs. And the format that you use most of the time is Loom videos because you feel more comfortable sharing by sharing your screen, talking through a project rather than writing everything down, which works perfectly with us. But they love how easy it is to understand your briefs.
I love that. I love that. That's so much fun. I love delegating. I think this is a big part of the inner work I've done
Mhm.
on, again, that vision of life where I want a life first kind of business, not the opposite way. And so if you're doing everything, you don't have a life. That's very simple. you know? So delegating is absolutely, when I met you on the Facebook group, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I was so happy. You have no idea. The experience of delegating for me is very streamlined. And I think that the remote piece was never an issue for me because all of my work is remote. Mm-hmm. I no longer go into anyone's homes or do any project management. That was a big part of actually why I was called crazy many times. It's like, what, you're crazy, that's never going to work. Well, watch me, it is going to work. And that's what I did since I started Sacred Interiors in that way. I'm like, I want to be home with my kids. And so working remote is very natural for me. I record all of my clients' presentations the same way I record my briefs for you guys. Literally the same template, the same camera, like that is what I do all day long. So it's easy, it comes easy. And then I have my own little checklist of, how I guide a client from the moment they contact me to the moment they pay. All of my clients pay in full before I design anything. I don't bill after the fact. I get paid in full. As soon as I get paid in full, I know I'm going to sit down with pen and paper because I love being hands-on. And I usually make it a vibe. There's a candle. I'm meditating on my client's experience and what they're calling in. That's part of how I get connected to my own creativity. And I sketch it all out. Once I sketch it all out, that's when I sit down and I record the presentation for you guys. So when I do that, I'm actually kind of going through my own design. So it helps you because you're understanding my work. Mm-hmm. And it helps me not just in delegating it to you, but in getting really clear with the vision of what I'm doing too. Mm-hmm. So it helps me when I brief you guys. I get clear on what the vision is.
And I think one big piece is that many designers underestimate the amount of work involved. And you're pretty good at understanding exactly how long tasks really take. I think sometimes you also send us a brief before you send a fee proposal, just for us to understand what you're getting into. And so then we can also pitch in and say, hey, Paula, for this amount of work, we can roughly estimate these many hours, because that also helps you when you write your fee proposals to clients.
Yes. And I would say that's probably an area of my business that I'm wanting to streamline a little bit more. I sat down with Sophia a while ago. She's part of your team. And it was great because we kind of mapped out, okay, there's 3 packages that you can offer design-wise. This is like, a simple, let's just redecorate your space and we need 10 hours of KVM here. The second package, maybe it's a 20-hour package. And then the next package is 35 hours plus, right? For like big kitchens, bathrooms, things like that. So that was helpful because now I kind of have a clear idea as to how many hours I'm going to need to outsource. So when I create my initial proposal for my clients, I can just add that from the get-go. And like I said, I always get paid upfront. So that's been very helpful. I'm streamlining some of it because sometimes I catch myself going too deep into the vision before my client has fully approved certain things. And so I need to like pause the creativity flowing too much, that's on me. And that and so I'm working on that. But for the most part, designing comes very easy to me to like, I know that I'm going to need these items right off the bat. So it's easy for me to come to you guys and be like, hey, how many hours do you think it's going to take to source these items? These are the shapes. These are the colors. This is the budget. What do you think? And what I'm always surprised at is how on point the hours usually are. It's like usually incredibly exact. I rarely find myself needing to like pay more than I thought I needed to pay. So it makes it incredibly easy. And I have now gone from, let's say, working 30 hours of my time, which really 30 hours of your hours are probably 60 of mine because I'm so like not enjoying the thing, where I may spend 3 hours working on a client project. Like really, And I'm talking about a big project. Sometimes it might be 3-4 hours, and most of that is presentations and conversations with the client. But all of the other render, construction drawings, sourcing, mood boards, I just show them the pretty result. I mean, the vision is mine and I have it. And again, that comes easy to me. But the nitty gritty of like Googling stuff, nah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, and I love that because then you stay in your zone of genius. You're doing what you love. You're
Yeah,
obviously very creative. Your designs are always fantastic. And you get to spend more time on, I know you love to teach, so you spend more time on the mentoring. This is what
yeah.
you love doing, and that's what you should spend more time doing, not doing all the technical stuff.
And I honestly 100% believe that that is the key to prosperity is when you're in the frequency of joy, when you're in the frequency of pleasure and of excitement, and it might not always feel like you're at the top of the mountain, like it's not always fireworks, like that's not realistic. But for the most part, frequency always comes first. So if I'm dreading something over and over, if I'm cursing at the computer, right? If I'm like stressed out, I'm yelling at my kids because they interrupted me while I'm on a spreadsheet putting budgets together. Like that's no way to live. Like I there is a season of life where you have to push through that and you have to know how to do it. I do believe that it's important to know at least how things work in your business and what is needed. But that's a very big rule for me. If it's not energizing me, if it's not, if it's depleting me in any way, it's a no. It's a no.
I I couldn't agree more, and I've noticed that you attract what reflects your frequency. So when I feel really stressed, I feel negative, I feel like it's not going anywhere. I will never be able to do this. Then I'm only attracting, well, lack of results or problems. But when
Mhm.
I work on my energy, when I feel positive, I feel happy, I feel energized. It's like all the abundance from all areas of your life is coming your way, and I've noticed that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's amazing. I I have this ritual I do every week, which is my money date. I think you and I talked about it.
Yes, I want to know more.
Yeah, and it's every Friday, so I don't work on Fridays, which means I don't take client calls, I don't like do any sourcing, I don't talk to you guys on Fridays. Like Fridays is a day for me to be very inward and do my money, like always. And don't like to be like the kind of spiritual bypassing person that thinks you always have to be positive because that's absolutely not true at all. Like the amount of negativity that lives in me is insanity. It's like so much. The work though is in reframing it, right? And like alchemizing those beliefs and that scarcity mindset. There's times where I sit down on Friday and yeah, like I dress up for this date for my money. I light a candle on my desk. I make sure my desk is really clean and nice. You know, I have a nice cup of tea or coffee. Like I make it a vibe. And even so, there's times where I'm like, oh, like I got to look at my bank account. I got to figure out who I need to pay. Like there's times where I still feel yucky about it. But because I have this practice of cultivating my environment and my energy, it's easier for me to shift that. So always I go back to the sacred principles. What needs to happen here before you design something, you have to clear the space. And that's why decluttering is the first step always. So if something doesn't feel good or looks good, we got to move it. We got to get rid of it. We got to donate it. We got to shift first. And so sometimes a big part of my money date is me just vomiting all of the negative beliefs that are going through me at the moment, right? And once you clear that, then you can go back to the frequency of prosperity and abundance on alignment and whatever the tools are to do that. For me, a lot of times is dancing. I love dancing. And so I'm literally like the weirdo dancing in my office before I get on my bank account because it makes me feel good, right? Whatever you need to do, but I don't, this is something I don't do. I don't open that tracking sheet if I'm in that energy. And that's how I want to feel about every task. If I'm going to come here to record a presentation for you guys or for my client, and I'm feeling energy, that means I'm going to stop. I'm not going to push through and record the damn thing just because it's 9:30 and I have to. No, I'm going to stop and I'm going to just notice, hey, what's going on? I'm annoyed with this client because she's so indecisive. Like, do you really need to try another lamp? It's been 6 lamps. It's just a lamp. Who cares, right? That's going through my head. Clear that before I can intentionally give my client the attention she deserves. So I think that level of mindfulness, I have no idea how I got here, but I'm just going to finish, is the level of intentionality that I bring to delegating, to talking to my clients, and to organizing my week so that I know exactly the energy I need to bring to the table.
I love that. It's funny. My money date is on Fridays as well. Except
Okay.
it doesn't look like your little ritual. Maybe that's what I need to do because it always feels like, today I have to look at my finances. I have to, and it's always something I procrastinate so much. And I don't come with the same energy that you seem to have. And it's so important because that's where my scarcity mindset comes in. And I don't want to be doing my finances with a scarcity mindset. I want to do it from a place of abundance. Very important.
Yes.
And for the other part that you talked about, my mentor always told me, Chris, there's too much going on. Instead of trying to do more all the time, just stop, relax, don't do anymore. Just stop. Wow, that conversation was amazing. I feel like you and I could be talking as with 15 minutes. 15 minutes. I feel like you and I could
Yes.
be talking. Maybe we'll do a few episodes because I'm sure people will be interested.
People can find everything on my Instagram at Sacred Interiors. That's where I am. And I don't feel like I have anything to add. I love, talking to you, and I love how you're helping your people. And I love having you guys as part of my team. I really do feel like you guys are part of my team. It feels that way all the time. And it's a beautiful thing because being an entrepreneur can be very, very lonely. And so when you have people who have like-mindedness and who really see you, and there's something so beautiful about deepening your relationship over a long period of time with someone, where you just know that they know you. Like there's times your team might send me a message that's so like on brand for me, and I'm like, oh my God, did they like really think about that? Like I love that. So yeah, just nothing but appreciation. I think you're doing an amazing job. And I think any designers who are going through limiting beliefs around delegating, like just put your big girl pants on and just do it because you won't regret it.
Thank you so much for saying this. The team loves you as well. They've been with me since you came as well. So over like
Wow.
4 years now. And that's what I wanted to create, a place where we work together on the long term, because the more we work together, the more we get to know each other, the more we understand what you need, what you're expecting from us. And the team generally always is super excited when you send a project because they know it's going to be super smooth to understand what you want. And they're always excited to see your new designs because they always say, Paula is so good with design. She actually designs the space.
When you said that, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I don't know exactly what that means, but that's amazing. You know what? I'm going to say one more thing.
Uh-huh.
There are so many times where I've been this close to quitting design work, so many times, because it's not the meat of what I am here to do. Like teaching is really what I love to do. I love that I pair it with design. I do. It's fun. But there's so many times where I've been this close. If it wasn't because you guys make it so easy for me to keep going, I probably would have quit. I swear. I probably would have quit. So it's a good thing to work with you guys for
Well,
sure.
we're an amazing team then, and I hope you don't
We
quit
are.
mine because you're so great at it. And I love that you can free up so much time to work on what you truly are passionate about. It's what
100%.
we're all about. I love the conversation today. I consider you a friend. You're a fantastic
Same.
person, and soon I'm gonna come visit you in Florida. So get ready.
Yes. Yes. We're doing this. Okay.
Doing this. We should go on a little retreat, you and I.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I'm in. I'm in.
Amazing. Well, I will drop your Instagram in the description of the
Okay.
video so everybody can find you. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.